But yes, the homo progressives hired me to do full-time video editing and required that I call myself an independent contractor who would receive zero health insurance, zero benefits completely. And the story Cenk Uygur told his audience is that Nancy Pelosi wanted to mess with his campaign, and therefore she dispatched her minions to start a union at the Young Turks, which he would then union bust. Now, I was wanting to get into the union because I got zero benefits, zero paid days off, zero paid holidays, zero bonus, no benefits. But I plotted to wake up the union because of this right here. Or Nancy Pelosi tricked us, as Cenk told his audience. What do you think it is? Which one do you think is who's telling the truth here? Cenk needs to come out and correct and apologize this stuff. They should all be called out for this. Every host on TYT should do a story about this. Young Turks article I'm writing. So this is long. I don't know if I'm going to stick with this headline. I get into a bunch of stuff about Cenk Uygur's beliefs about health insurance and stuff. So what I'm detailing, though, is this stuff here. This is this crap that I've been waiting years to talk about. I've already talked about it a little bit, but this article will lay it all out. I have screenshots of the contract and, snippets, but I can provide evidence for, all the other paperwork. I was hired and they made me sign an independent contractor agreement that said I was an independent contractor and would receive zero benefits. The home of progressives for full-time video editing work. But yes, the home of progressives hired me to do full-time video editing and required that I call myself an independent contractor who would receive zero health insurance, zero benefits completely. That lasted for about 8 months, which is very long and was very stressful, and is when the unionizing started, or woke up, I should say, because I plotted during that time to do it. They changed my classification to part-time temporary in June of 2019, which still included zero benefits. So like they just messed with the classification, and eventually they called me part-time regular. By the way, I was not working part-time and the job wasn't temporary. And then finally there was a third classification when I was hired in October of 2019 after working full-time since October of 2018. And the story Cenk Uygur told his audience is that Nancy Pelosi wanted to mess with his campaign, and therefore she dispatched her minions to start a union at the Young Turks, which he would then union bust. So I get into all this in this article. That's why it's so long. And I've been taking a lot of care and time and reading it a bunch, sharing it with a few friends just to get some perspective, and just being like, because this is sort of putting TYT on blast for this stuff. I don't know if anybody's going to care. I think I overestimated how many people would care about the union thing in terms of the left. Certainly my reach is tiny, and I've been slow and kind of doddering putting stuff out. And so it's been a hard time, and I'm far from having exhausted all possibilities with that, but it still has been like, yeah, I guess not every leftist gives a shit about labor. Like labor lefties do, people who are like, that's their kind of bugbear, their pommel horse, so to speak. And that's okay too. Like there people kind of land on their different parts of the, flower, so to speak. People are drinking different nectar, I guess. So that's okay. But I kind of maybe had overestimated how much the left would want to do this. But it's also very early for me to really say that. So the thesis of the film is that the false narrative was a lie intended to prevent scrutiny into Cenk's employment practices. That's what I'm calling out. That's the thing I'm sticking my neck out about. Cenk's employment practices are fucking rotten. And it was horrible to be treated this way at the Young Turks. So let's scoop up real fast. I wanted to just do one. Yeah, here we go. So after the first chunk, it's like 1,500 words just on a goddamn preview. It was sort of, we can scroll it here. Let me. All right, so let's just scroll it down to this one part. This is kind of just the beginning. I just sort of get into sort of the concept of why would you lie? Like, why would somebody not want to explain why their workers unionized? Like, most bosses don't want to answer this question. Why did your workers want a union? Because the answers to why workers wanted a union is usually going to not reflect well on the boss. So we live in a world, though, where these companies are owned by massive conglomerates and corporations. And, Howard Schultz is probably one of the few union busters you might be able to name. But the union busting is always happening. There's often little ones that get called out. No Evil Foods is one that's gotten some attention that I've seen because it's this company whose premise was that they don't do anything evil. They're called No Evil Foods, and then their workers unionized, and they did a bunch of shitty union busting, and they've had some vocal people coming forward about that. In fact, I want to reach out to them and say, hey, I'm also in that camp. I would love it if other TYT people came forward too. That would be cool. That would be validating in a lot of ways. So I just kind of been working on this thing. And the question, this is sort of the setup of like, why would you not want your workers to answer union? But if you're Cenk Uygur, of all people, you definitely don't want people, you'd rather the story be he got fucked over by Nancy Pelosi than he was fucking over his workers and they did something about it. There's a difference there. And he doesn't want people. So that's the argument I'm making here. Here's how he described the union busting. This is the only reporting that I've been able to find on any TYT outlet about the union busting. The guy who did the union busting said this.
Our relationship got off to a bumpy start in the beginning, but that was due to a lot of different reasons having nothing to do with how we treat employees here.
So this is in the film. He described it as a bumpy start. It was a bumpy start in the beginning.
Our relationship got off to a bumpy start in the beginning, but that was due.
This is from October 7th, roughly 18 months after the union held its second victorious election. They tried to just do one. They did card check. Then there was union busting. Then they did the second election in April of 2020. So 17-ish months, 18 months or so before the contract was ratified. That itself is a union busting tactic. COVID was kicking in too, so they had to do it remotely, which I understand made things take a little bit longer. But when you get 18 months of negotiation time, guess what you're not doing during those 18 months? I'll do a Biden here. You're not paying union rates. You're not paying union benefits. Now, I was wanting to get into the union because I got zero benefits, 0 paid days off, 0 paid holidays, 0 bonus, no benefits. So I write a bunch about this stuff. I kind of just get into kind of like I'm trying to be actually fair and say they were suspicious and it made sense that they were suspicious. And if it were something like, here's a clip from the film.
Then, on December 12th, Cenk proudly announced he scored a huge endorsement from then presidential candidate and legendary hoopster, Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders endorsed me.
I love that basketball hitting the hand sound. Isn't that just like a nice noise?
Legendary hoopster, Bernie Sanders.
That's just a satisfying kind of snappy sound. And so I kind of get into the political. This is why there's so much stuff about the campaign in there, because I found that to be just super interesting. And it's a relevant piece to my case that I'm making, that they had every decent right to feel suspicious. Okay, fine. Even though it's completely implausible and wildly weird and dumb, it doesn't take a lot of thought to realize that there's probably a more rational explanation, which is that the workers were fed up with their working conditions. That might be why, as I say up here, shitty bosses are the #1 cause of unions. You know, how I say here in this little summary thing, like the concept of leverage, how cowards gain it, and why Cenk Uygur is a shitty boss. Oh, I got to put an A in that. Shitty. Geez. See, I told you it's not. It's the reason I haven't put it out yet. Is a shitty boss, which happens to be the #1 cause of unions. I could probably argue about that, but that's not. So I got little gifts from the video. There's still, I'm going to give it another couple rounds. And so after we sort of go through this initial part, describing what it would have been like if it were a mistake, if they had actually just said, oh, fuck, we actually screwed up. We didn't, it wasn't Nancy Pelosi. Or maybe they just don't think it's an important enough story to correct. That's a little bit strange. If you heard about, like, just pick a different company. If some other media outfit was like spreading lies about its own workers, would you think that's important or not? Yeah, it's noteworthy. It's interesting. If it's the media company that's supposed to be about honesty and fairness and openness, run by the self-appointed champion of the progressive cause, Cenk Uygur, that seems relevant. So I'm giving them space to say it was okay. It would have been okay if they had fixed it. If they had said, you know what, we could have done something. We were wrong. We looked into it, and time would have washed the blemish away. Didn't happen. It was aggressive ass union busting. Cenk is a fucking capitalist. He doesn't believe in card check. Like, if you've seen the film, you've seen him say that.
Look, on card check, I don't. So this is one of the issues that I'm not that progressive on. I don't believe in card check.
And they didn't do fact checking according to my sources, who you could probably figure out who my sources are. Not that I, maybe they did. And I, so if that's the case, then I will definitely update my information and how I tell the story. But they didn't treat it like it was a mistake. They did the union busting and then they covered it all up. And I'm saying here, this is the opportunity pit. They didn't want these questions asked. Why did your workers want a union? Why did they organize in secret? Are you a bad boss? This is the thing that I'm getting at is Cenk. This phrase here, a boss who treats his workers poorly, that's Cenk's words. Those are Cenk's concerns, which is in the video, but I'll jump ahead here to here. One of the union busting emails. These are all available, by the way, on Alex Thompson's Twitter. He's the writer who wrote the political piece. So these are all publicly available. Where he fretted that he would be known as a boss who treats his workers poorly. So I'm presenting this as what Cenk is doing here. What he was trying to do was prevent the world from finding out the kind of person he is. He doesn't want to know people. He doesn't want people to know that he's the kind of guy that when you get hired by him, he'll make you sign an independent contractor agreement that says you will not be considered an employee. The role that I was taking, and I can prove this, the person who left the job was called an employee on Friday. On Monday, it was now an independent contractor role with zero benefits. The person got benefits on Friday. They switched roles. The position was open. They called me up because they knew I was a good editor. And it was literally a 60-second job interview. It wasn't an interview. It was just, I knew the guy. He said, "Do you want to come in on Monday?" Yeah, sure. See you on Monday. Awesome. I'm desperate. Definitely. And as I explained, I signed it because I hoped it was a temporary thing. I figured after a few months, maybe they just want to test it out, see how it goes. And then but months and months and months went by. Cenk Uygur goes on and on and on about healthcare and about paid leave too. I don't even mention the paid leave stuff in this article, but you'll see him say it all the time about, other countries have paid family leave.
It's capitalism, baby. They can do anything they like. They're doing that to recruit better employees. So have at it, Hoss. Me, I don't agree with it. Okay, 20 weeks. I don't even know if you still work here. Okay, so I'm a jerk. Okay, that's 5 months, dude. I forgot who you are. Okay, so I'm sorry. That's too lib for me. It's too lib for me. Okay, I think 6 weeks is right, and people can't go without getting paid for 2 weeks, let alone 2 months. That's impossible.
Mm-hmm. You talk to executives, if they're not making those decisions, they're just a rando executive, and you told them that other people don't have paid sick leave, they wouldn't believe you. They're like, well, what happens if you get sick? Or they make you show up to work. They're like, no, there's no way that's true. And we live in the same country. Yes, and jerks like this, and I'm trying to be as polite as possible. The guy we're talking about in Pennsylvania, he's like, I don't care. No. Real freedom means the freedom to work on your deathbed and be fired if you don't. That's who these Republican barbarians are. They hate you. And this is not about bums. These are all working people. They hate the working class in this country.
Honestly, every break that workers have gotten in this country's history weren't just handed to them by corporate CEOs looking to do the right thing. They're not gonna do the right thing. They're gonna do what they wanna do in order to provide returns to their shareholders, to make profit, and they wanna cut costs, right? So of course they're not gonna pay for sick leave. They're not gonna wanna do it out of the kindness of their own hearts. The reason why we have the weekend, the reason why we have any, worker or workplace regulations is because it was fought for by organized labor.
The Republicans don't want you to have paid sick leave in the middle of a pandemic. They say that you should not be able to take 1 day off if you're a working class man in America. Now you give all that BS mythology fables about, oh, I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania, I'm regular Joe. Regular Joe stands up for a guy who can't take a single goddamn day off. He doesn't want the paid sick leave. Not giving you paid sick leave saves them money. So that's why they bribe the politicians who say you can't get paid sick leave. There, I made sense of it. It's so easy.
1 in 4 women in the United States actually return to work within 2 weeks of childbirth. 2 weeks. There are some cases in which people will take leave, but it's not paid. So if you have a baby and you decide, like, I want to spend a few months with my child, more often than not, American workers have no choice but to take that time off with absolutely no compensation.
Well, the numbers are right there. In fact, that's more updated numbers than the one I just gave you. 83% of you have no choice at all. Either you will not get paid or you'll be driven back to the mines. I'm sorry, driven back to freedom. So they're saying it's really cool and brave and tough to go right back to work after you have a baby. Or, by the way, even when you're sick. Oh, you have a broken collarbone. Come on, we gotta go save the world. What are we saving the world? The guy's working at a chicken factory on the assembly line. Were he saving the world? No, you just want him to go back to work so you can make more money off him.
Exactly.
Right? Oh, he's got a broken collarbone? You don't give a damn. You're like, oh yeah, be tough, so I can make more money off you. So my corporate donor can give me more money and pay you as little as possible, and then pretend that it's cool to go back to work.
I'm a mother of 4. I delivered one of my children in the front seat of my truck because as a mom of 4, we got things to do.
So 80% of you, if you have a kid, you gotta go back to work right away. Oh, you wanna take time off? No, it's unpaid. Go starve. You and your baby can go starve. On average, the rest of the world, developed world, has 29 weeks of paid family leave, maternity leave. 29 weeks, can you believe it? That's on average. Half of them have more, because that's what civilized countries do. Uncivilized countries go, oh yeah, man, I deliver my kid in the front seat of my pickup truck because we have no health care in this country.
Many studies have indicated the vast majority of Americans do want paid family leave. 82% of Americans want paid maternity leave, making it as popular as chocolate. Focus on what they really represent: corporate rule, and essentially forcing Americans to live hideous lives where they don't get to spend time with the children, even the children they were forced to have as a result of their draconian policies on reproductive rights.
John's about to show you the numbers that other countries get. Actually developed countries, not like the banana republic that we live in, under goddamn corporate rule, and you hate corporate rule. So why is every single Republican politician saying, I love it, I love corporate rule, I don't want you to have paid family leave, screw all my voters? Why don't you do an uprising over that? And the last number is 2 billion. 2 billion a day is what the strike would cost the entire economy. That's why they say, oh, we can't have a strike. So our member wrote in, they said, oh, apparently the workers are worth $2 billion a day. Yet all of Washington just said they're worth nothing and should get 0 sick days that are paid. So, okay, we have our answer. The workers are invaluable, and Washington doesn't give a goddamn about them and will screw them at every turn, including the Democrats. Everyone in Washington, including every reporter, knows that. They just all choose to lie to you and play this kabuki theater for you guys. We're the only ones that tell you what the reality is. I mean, the right wing's often loony town, right? And they're like, oh yeah, Republicans love workers. That's why we say they should have no goddamn minimum wages, no sick days, no nothing, no paid family leave. They're like, but we love workers, do you? And then the corporate media does these lies. So it's not like they don't have the money. They're just spitting in the workers' face, and every goddamn corrupt politician in Washington is helping them spit in the workers' face. Total liar.
It's not about how unbelievably cruel it is to force workers to essentially to show up to work sick, right?
0 paid sick days?
0 paid sick days. I mean, it is
absurd.
They did that to maximize their profits, spend as little as possible on labor, maximize profits so they can do the corporate stock buybacks, so they can do the dividends for their shareholders. That's all that matters to them. That's how the system works. So they always enable the corporate greed over and over and over again. This is how it's done. But in terms of paid sick time, only 14 states, along with Washington, D.C., require employers to offer paid sick leave, although employees may only use it for health-related issues. Now, this graph kind of shows you, or this map of the United States shows you which states have that policy in place.
Kind of looks like blue states.
A lot of blue states, yeah.
And when you see that map, and you see it's pretty much all blue states, in the red states, if you're a Republican voter, you want this. Because why? Well, you're gonna go in sick? That's crazy, right? But you don't get it because your politicians sold you out. Just understand that. So the blue states aren't nirvana or anything like that, but we have a little bit more, right? A tiny bit more protection. And that's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. It's not a controversial position at all. 84% of Americans, for example, want paid family leave. And so that was supposed to be federal legislation, it was supposed to be in Build Back Better, and it included both maternity and sick leave, right? So, by the way, 74% of Republicans want it. That's 3/4 of Republican voters say, yes, I want that. You know why? Because they're workers, and they're human beings. And they go, yeah, sometimes you get sick. Sometimes you have a kid. I thought we were pro-life, right? Since I run a company, I know how these things work. You do calculations of different costs and revenue lines, right?
Why can't we convince the American people that we should have the kind of safety net that they have in Europe? That they get some child care, they get medical, they get time off when they have a baby, and they take time off. In America, we don't even take time off. We let our vacation days.
Listen, the progressive policies that the caller's talking about are deeply popular in the country. Paid family leave polls at 84%. 74% of Republicans want it. In Estonia, they don't get 82 days. They get 82 weeks off after having a baby. We get zero, none. We send our mothers, the people who brought us into this world, back to the assembly line, back to the coal mines, the day after they have a baby. It is unconscionable. It's all theater. And the minute you propose anything that helps the average American, like Medicare for All, which is universal health care that every other developed nation on earth has, all of a sudden, what does the media do? How are you going to pay for that? Media is corporate. The politicians are corporate. We live under corporate rule. It's time for a rebellion.
Pete Buttigieg had a baby with his guy.
Exactly.
He got 3 months. Didn't he get 3 months?
Yeah, he got month long. You know why?
How?
Because 24% of Americans get paid family leave. Only 24%. Everybody else in the world, 100% get.
Gotcha.
Okay. Who are the 24%? All rich people.
Oh, wow.
All executives, all government officials, etc.
He got 3 months. Yeah.
So executives get 12 weeks off. That's standard fare. Okay. So as a company, we give 12 weeks off. But in the beginning, the standard was you give it to the executives. And we said, no, we're going to give it to everybody. And people are like, whoa, you're going to give it to everybody. That's crazy. Because it's in the corporate mindset that you don't do that for the average American.
Polling shows that 74% of Republicans want paid family leave. And out of the 8 people that had a clear opinion, 75% of them, 6 out of 8, said they wanted paid family leave. Where he said he used to be a Bernie supporter, now he's supporting Donald Trump. And because he wants the Workers' Party, an outsider party, populist party, anti-establishment party. And paid family leave makes corporations pay for when, for some number of weeks off, 12 weeks off, when someone has a baby. So if you're a populist, you want moms to be able to take care of their baby for 12 weeks. It's not too much to ask for, right? And so that's why the populists say yes. The corporatists go, I don't want my beloved corporations paying for a single day off. No way. Back to the mines. So we're asking you to sign a paid family leave petition. And a lot of you have already signed it. So go to tyt.com/petitions, sign this one. And I'm asking, by the way, right-wingers to sign this too, because right-wingers agree with us. The whole country agrees with us. Pass paid family leave. And then if you want, take it to Trump. Take it to Biden, take it to anyone you like, and say, why aren't you doing something that the overwhelming majority of your voters want?
Because if people hear my message, they're like, yeah, wait a minute, paid family leave, that's moms taking 12 weeks off after they have a baby. It's at 84%. Why don't the Democrats even try?
Paid family leave polls at 84%, and he won't fight for it. If you can't get something passed that's at 84%, you're not a very good politician.
So go and sign it at tyt.com/petitions. Passing paid family leave should be a layup. Right now, the Democrats are proposing these bills that are so popular just to have the Republicans vote against them.
Why not propose paid family leave? Do you know what it polls at overall in a different poll that I saw? In fact, in a number of polls that I've seen, 84%. So, and the poll that I always use shows Republicans supported 74%. So if 3/4 of Republican voters want it and 90% of Democratic voters want it, why don't we have it? Because we don't live in a democracy.
I don't think you'd be shocked to find that Americans from both sides of the aisle want paid family leave because they want to spend time. Like, what is the point of life, really? To just work all day? Is that the point of life? I mean, I know in America, that's what it's turned into, right? Just to make ends meet. That's all Americans are expected to do. But when are we supposed to enjoy life with our families?
I'm old school, and I didn't take a lot of paternity time off at all. Plus, I run the company, so it's kind of not optional, right? It's one thing when I say, hey, I'm going to take X number of paternity days off. It would be a different thing if when John took paternity days off, if I was like, can you believe that guy's taking time off? Yeah, of course I can believe it. And that's your job to protect the people who actually want to do that. It's the law and it's moral, it's decent.
To Fox's credit, they do offer the benefit. Let's take a look at the next graphic. So they do offer holiday time off, sick time. All eligible employees will be granted sick time hours equal to twice their standard work week hours, accrued to a maximum of 72 hours. Or 9 days per year. Fox has several leave programs, including short-term disability, family and medical, paid paternal, bereavement, jury duty, and military leave.
For example, paid family leave polls at 84%. And a huge percentage, over 90% of Democratic voters, and amazingly, even 74% of Republican voters want paid family leave. So Joe Biden, can you please introduce paid family leave? It's a layup. For God's sake, when are we finally going to deliver for the voters? Give them higher wages through increasing minimum wage. Give them paid family leave. Give them universal health care. And the Democrats always say, oh, yeah, sure, we'll do it. Wink. And then they come in and they don't do anything. And then they go, why won't they vote for our incumbents after we betrayed every single thing we said we were going to do? This is not rocket science.
And our trademark is honesty, so I'm keeping it real. We have awesome benefits.
Wink.
Well, I didn't have paid fucking family leave at his company. It says it right here. It's in here somewhere. Any benefit of any kind. No vacation and holiday pay, sick leave, leaves of absence, health and welfare benefits, including coverage for medical, dental, vision, accidental death, and disability, long-term or short-term disability, or life insurance, severance benefits, retirement benefits, including pension or thrift plan contributions, and or any other benefit of any kind or nature provided to its employees. And he's the dude who goes out in public and talks about parental leave and health insurance. So I get into who the guy is, and we talk about what his politics are, kind of. I mean, I wasn't trying to give the whole Cenk Uygur story. It's fine for him to do that. But as I say in this first paragraph here, those familiar with Cenk Uygur's politics would likely describe him as a strong proponent of Medicare for all. Easily one of his top 3 issues. He claims he's for it all the time, though that becomes difficult to believe considering he's not even for Medicare for all his workers. Not that they had Medicare to hand over to us, but so he goes on, he has used this word barbaric a lot to describe, if you just search his Twitter and type in barbaric, he uses it all the time. This is just one of many examples where he says, if you don't have health insurance in America, we let you die. And I make the point that, let me get back to it. So then when he's running for president, this politician running for fucking president, this was in November of 2023. This invited to this College of Charleston to talk. They call it the Bully Pulpit Series, which is very nice. And he says this.
We're the only ones that are barbaric enough that live under corporate rule where we say, no, if you didn't have enough money for health insurance, we're going to let your kids die. And I would fix that immediately.
He would, if he were president, make sure that any people didn't have to die or their kids die from not having health insurance. And he's a guy who hires people and makes them call themselves an independent contractor, and then they don't get health insurance. That's who Cenk Uygur fucking is. That's who this guy is. So I make this case. Here's another one. This is a political. There's so many examples. because the healthcare thing is one of his big things. It's his whole deal. Here's him debating fellow employer and barbarism decider Ben Shapiro at Politicon in 2017.
If you don't have good health care, you die.
He's right. Even bad healthcare, you die. So I kind of make the case that this is barbaric. I'm adopting his standard for what this means, and so I just get through the work. It's a little bit, I don't know how, I don't know. It's probably a little over dramatic at certain parts of this article, but I was fucking scared, man. I have mental health issues, and I talk about that a lot in this thing too, about like not having a job and the stress of being out of work was really bad for my fucking health. It really caused a lot of problems for me, and I was really worried. I have the kind of health, when I say that, I'm sure you probably understand what I'm saying. It could take bad turns, and it's just like, and so this dude was willing to use barbarism. The barbarism the barbarism that he goes on in public and says is bad, he uses at his office, which is how I sort of arrive at the concept of leverage, which is like 8,000 words from this. So, yeah, I'm going to put this out there soon. I'm just previewing it here because this whole intro stuff. And I also talk about how I wanted to help. I gave them opportunities to fix this. I met with HR and I said, I have issues here. I get into like some of the work that I did. A few different stories here. This one's funny. Steve-O, y'all remember, I did a Friday post game with him. I'm not sure if this is the one where he said it. But he's going on about his vacation and how nice it was, but he didn't like Paris. And I just remember being like, I don't even have fucking health insurance, you pieces of shit. And not that it was his necessarily, but he was an executive, so it would have been appropriate. And yeah, that was weird. That was a goofy one. But I was trying to fix this. Sam Seder even makes an appearance. Why would a company call themselves? Or why would a company do this? Is there a benefit to classifying somebody as not an employee?
What's the benefit for an employer to not make me an employee and to do what some people call misclassify?
Employers can save a lot of money and avoid a lot of liability by classifying workers as contractors rather than employees. By some estimates, it's a 30% difference when you consider costs like payroll tax.
But payroll taxes are the most regressive tax there is. After a while, the rich stop paying for them entirely. So it mainly hits the middle class, the working middle class.
That's Josh Edelson, labor reporter for Bloomberg. So as I was saying, and then we're done. I gotta go. I gotta watch The Boys. Meeting with human resources. I gave them a chance. I gave them 2 chances. I asked to be properly compensated for the work that I had been doing. It felt like they were stealing from me. I didn't get paid for Christmas. I didn't get paid for Thanksgiving. This is like Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. I didn't get paid for all the other holidays they pay for, Labor Day, 4th of July. The first paid holiday I got was 12 months after I started working, when I was under the 3rd classification. And this was why we started the union. There was actually some other stuff. There had already been contact with IATSE about a year prior. This is not the complete story. But I plotted to wake up the union because of this shit right here. Or Nancy Pelosi tricked us, as Cenk told his audience. What do you think it is? Which one do you think is who's telling the truth here? Cenk needs to fucking come out and correct and apologize this stuff. They should all be called out for this. Every host on TYT should do a story about this. They're never going to. I wanted to help. I was trying to get them to fix it. It mattered to me. It meant a lot to me. I thought they could fix it. Like right here, I was saying, like this is my meeting with HR where I was like, why are you doing this to yourselves? Don't you guys understand this is a bad thing to do? Also, it's really unfair to me. I put a little humor in there, by the way. And I'm not joking. I do love Adele. And Adele is quite a singer. Oh man, she really belts it out. I love it so much because it did. This is true. TYT mattered to me. I worked there a lot. I helped build their reputation. My job included protecting the company, and I wanted them to fix it. They could have fixed it. As I say, I think upwards, we could have kept that skeleton buried. I didn't fucking move across the country. I would be a millionaire now with the business that I was running with this other guy that I had a partnership with in Chicago. I sold that business to move across the country to work for this company, hoping that I was going to contribute. And I never would have done this documentary if this union busting shit didn't go down or this thing didn't go down. It all just would have been like, fine, you know, just like another disappointing chapter of life. But it mattered a lot to me. And it was insanely stressful the entire time. And they never, they had chances to fix it and they didn't take those chances. So I plotted and we started a union. And that's the piece that I hope you read. And thank you for watching and listening and subscribing and supporting. Coming out forward like this means I'm very unemployable in the world unless somebody who sees this wants to work on some, you know, it's going to have to be like pro-union people. They're like, go buddy, let's do it. Because I seem like a complete crank because you're not supposed to step out of line like this. This makes me look like an insane person. I'm going to pay far more of a price just coming out about it than they ever will, you know? But this shit was wrong. It was wrong to treat somebody like this. This is an independent contractor agreement. I was working full-time fucking hours alongside people who were doing the same job who were receiving benefits. And it pissed them off. Like the final, here, let me just do it faster. Daily Wire. If you don't want workers who might unionize, be the fucking Daily Wire, man. Like that's the thing. Like why would you just, it's just so mind boggling. I still can't get my head around how amazingly dumb it was. Because it's not that much money. We're talking, by the way, the money I deserve to have been paid that still hasn't been paid that I earned, well over $10,000. It's not like I didn't get paid for a bathroom break or two. It's not a small amount of fucking money, man. I took vacations I didn't get paid for. It's crazy. All right. Well, vote Biden. See you later.